Hey everyone, I hope you're doing great, following the 3 H's of the channel, and in this video, it's all about weird things that happen on the night shift. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, pull up a stump with me and stay a while. I had a close encounter of the third kind type one night when I was closing up a little grocery store that I used to work at. I was working at a Save-A-Lot in Bakersfield one night. This was in 2017, so it was way before the pandemic. I was closing up for the night with my manager Stacy, who I was on again, off again dating. I went outside in the parking lot to get a few carts that were left out. When I looked up into the sky, I saw this bright blue dot of light. It was so bright and blue that I immediately knew that it wasn't a star. I watched it for about 10 seconds before it seemed to vanish without a trace. Then I ran inside to get Stacy and tell her about it. She was in the front office, which has one of those windows that's a two-way mirror so you can see out at the cash registers. She was doing something I don't remember, paperwork or counting the safe or something. I told her about the dot, and she just kind of shrugged it off like it was nothing. But when we went outside, it was visible again, and I started screaming for her to look. But her face was frozen in fear. She was staring out at the end of the parking lot, about 50 yards away, at something. It was walking near a dumpster. From looking at the dumpster, you could see that this thing was 3 feet tall. I couldn't see really what it looked like, but it was extremely fast, had long arms and legs. It vanished behind the dumpster, and we got in the car and sped out of there so fast that we almost hit a car at the light. No one believes us to this day, but I've told so many people. Edwards Air Force Base is only about 45 minutes from Bakersfield, so who knows what is going on there. It was either an alien or maybe something worse. This is something that really sticks out in my memory, and I don't think that I'll ever be able to forget it. I work as a night security guard, and after several events, I was a little afraid of the 27th floor of this building. Just random creepiness always happening up there. But after a few months of nothing happening, I had thought maybe I was in the clear. I had even successfully gaslighted myself a little bit into believing that maybe I was just overreacting. Maybe it was just a set of coincidences that happened. But it turns out that the GM of that company is a pretty cool guy. He lets me know that since I've been here for 2 years and I seem trustworthy, that I'm welcome to their staff kitchen to help myself to some coffee or a protein bar anytime I want or anytime I'm on break in the area. This is a pretty sweet perk to me because I'm a broke college student. I thank him. So I'm doing my rounds. I end up on the 27th floor. I help myself to some coffee and some expensive creamer that I can't afford. I decide to go to the bathroom after. The bathroom is fancy enough that it has basically what I would call a waiting room. It's a room just before the bathroom that has a couch, a mirror, and a desk. The couch is more expensive than my couch by a mile. I decide to spend one of my 15-minute clocked-in breaks while I'm here. Now, I also fully understand what sleep paralysis is, so please don't write me off. I was sitting on the couch. I was wide awake. This has been my routine for 2 years at this point. I was well rested, and I had just had a coffee. I sit down, I get comfy, and I start to respond to some text messages. As I'm typing, my hands go numb, and I drop my phone. I try to pick it up, but I fall into the couch more. It feels like a total loss of function of my entire body. And then I hear these terrible screams that begin increasing in volume. And then I start to see many humanoid shapes come at me slowly, and a giant angry female starts screaming at me, or at least I think it was a female. It was more visible than the others, which seem meters away and very shadowy. I fall to the floor in my attempt to flee. I can still hear the screams as I crawl. It's all I could muster. I'm going toward my baton and my flashlight. I push open the door, still on my hands and knees. I manage to get up. I'm weakly walking with my legs shaking, like I'm tripping over myself. I'm trying to get toward the elevator. I turn around one last time, and I see all these shadowy people just screaming at me. I take the fancy elevator down a floor because I'm not going to be able to use the fire escape with my legs like this. I vow to never hang out on the 27th floor ever again. I used to work nights at a night cafe. Business wasn't great during the winter, so usually I'd be the only person there from about 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., which is the closing shift. One night, I was alone in the cafe, sweeping the floors and trying to clean as much as possible, so come 6, I could close and go home. At about 3:30 a.m., the doorbell chimes, and I turn around to say hello. Nobody was there, but the door is clearly wide open. I closed the door and turned around. There was this guy. The air around him felt almost heavy. He had super pale skin, and he was extremely thin. At this point, I just assumed he was some junkie coming in to get out of the cold. I cleared my throat, and I started to approach the table. Before I even started to speak, his head snapped towards me. "Hey," and then he said my name. "Do you have meat?" This guy addressed me by my name. I don't wear a badge or a name tag or anything. I kind of stepped back. I said, "We have a couple of meat dishes. Want me to get you a menu?" I forced myself to smile. He stared at me. I handed a menu toward him. He held eye contact and didn't move to take the menu, so I put it in front of him. I asked if he wanted a drink. He just kept staring at me. I said, "All right, I'll give you a moment to decide." I went behind the counter and I sent my manager a text message asking if she could drop by. The message failed to send, despite me having full service. I tried again. The message failed to send. I did this 5 times before eventually putting my phone away and looking back toward the table. He was gone. I didn't hear the door chime at all as he left, so I assumed that maybe he'd gone to the bathroom. I tried to calm myself down a bit, rationalizing that this was simply a junkie. But then realizing this, I thought that this is gonna be suspicious of what he's doing in the bathroom, so I decided to go check. It was completely empty, and the window was still locked. I still have no idea how he knew my name, where he went, or how he even got in, with me seeing the door open and nobody coming in. I quit shortly after this. A few months later, though, one of my coworkers went missing. We were told that she was killed in a failed robbery, but nobody believes that. I honestly believe that it may have been the same thing or guy, whatever, that I encountered that night. I worked in a restaurant that's part of an old village nonprofit in a state in the eastern US. Basically, the village was founded in the mid-1700s by a rather odd religious cult. They lived there for a pretty long time, and as you can expect, there were plenty of deaths. So naturally, the restaurant, which is a repurposed common building, formerly housing, formerly an infirmary, and formerly a village office, is absolutely haunted. So, this was my first day on the job in 2017. I was working with some friends, so we obviously got up to some shenanigans. We finished washing all the dishes when my best friend, who I'll just refer to as M, which is the first letter of his name, he decides to ride the dumbwaiter down to the basement. We think, well, he's small enough to fit, and it can carry some weight, so screw it, let's see what happens. So we send our lad down. He gets to the bottom, and then we hear him screaming for us to bring him back up. We hammer the up button. He makes it back up. He's pale as a sheet, and he tells us what happened. For context, the basement is where the bakery and storage is at. The dumbwaiter has a little bitty window that lets you see into it, or in our case, out of it. He tells us that there was a man down there, dressed like one of the village's guides, period dress, a simple farmer garb, and everything. He tells us that he thought that it was one of the guides that was just down there to grab a snack from the bakery, but the guy turned around, and he had no face. We never sent anyone down on the dumbwaiter ever again. But now, the first time that I saw something spooky was about 2 weeks after this dumbwaiter incident. Just as some more context, the restaurant was the ground floor. The old village offices and infirmary were on the second floor and fourth floor, respectively. I just so happened to be going to the fourth floor on a dare. We called the fourth floor infirmary the White Room. To this day, nobody can give a straight answer on why it's called the White Room, because it certainly isn't white, but it's the spookiest place in the whole building. And since it was the infirmary, a lot of the people in that cult all died there. So I'm wandering around, and I'm snapping photos like a college girl's Instagram, and then the room gets ice cold. My onboard spook sense is kind of ticking at this point. I'm getting ready to bounce when I see a woman in period clothes standing by the window. I'm remembering the faceless man that my friend told me about. I'm scared as hell, staring at this woman. And then suddenly, she turns and walks straight through me. I feel the cold wind go right into my bones. After a few seconds, I gathered myself and I got the hell out of there. I wish this was the last time that I'd see something there, but unfortunately, life doesn't always work out how you want it to. Poltergeist-style activity used to happen every once in a while. It's mostly annoying, but sometimes it can get outright scary. A few examples of the kind of stuff that I had to deal with. This one time, I was just washing dishes, and then suddenly, I look over, and a bowl levitates above the counter, and goes flying through the air and shatters on the floor. That's generally how it goes, but there have been a few times that would just leave me terrified. Once again, I was washing dishes. I hear the drawers open. I figure it's just one of the cooks, so I stay in my little dish pit, cleaning away. And then I hear clattering. I turn to ask if I can help him out. There's literally a fountain of cutlery, knives, forks, spoons. that begins to spray out of the drawer. And then another drawer opens, and the cutting knives start spewing out of the drawer, flying in every direction. I turn and bail out. I run towards the downstairs chef's office. I let her know what just happened, and that I'm taking the rest of the night off. She gives me the okay, and I leave and just go home. That kitchen ghost was always a dick. And it's not just the restaurant that's haunted. It's pretty much the whole historical village, hiking trails and all. There's one of the banquet halls that has an old man that enjoys screwing with the guests. There's a little boy that wanders the village, and if a man sees him, it means his wife is pregnant. This is the normal spooky ghost fair. And then there's the dilapidated house in the far back of the village. Nobody who has ever worked there more than a week will go anywhere near that house. So, all of the buildings in the village are original, except for the equipment garage. All of them are well maintained, except for this house. That's generally the first tip that something isn't right. The non-profit stopped really caring about this house back in the 1970s. As far as I know, it's because guests were checking out on their first night staying there very consistently. But that's, of course, all they put on record. Every house in the village is a hotel suite now, except that one. One day, me and the boys decided to check it out. We took our time off and we went on our little adventure. Since we were village employees, nobody was going to stop us from going anywhere. All access is pretty cool. We get to the house, and for some reason or another, nobody ever locked the door. It's super dusty in there, and completely devoid of the modern amenities you'd find in any of the other houses, which isn't too weird considering that it had been abandoned in the 1970s. So, we're in the house for maybe 5 minutes, and things start getting weird. There's heavy footsteps upstairs. We figure it's a meth head or a hobo or some kind of drifter, so we decide to hide under the staircase. More footsteps come down the stairs. All of us are waiting with bated breath. The footsteps reach the bottom of the stairs and then walk past us. There was nobody there. You can see between the cracks in the stairs, and nobody even came down the stairs. We're all freaked out, but we decide to be brave and go upstairs. We're just about to start exploring when every single door upstairs flies open, creaks closed, and flies open again. We turn and bail, never to go back. We stuck to the other buildings for exploring from then on. And this one is one that almost drove me to quit. I would have if I didn't need the money, and the hours didn't work so well for my school schedule. So it's 2019. It's the Christmas season. It's one of our busiest times of year. On the upside, the spooky activity is always at an all-time low, so that's always nice. I think I'm going to get through the week without anything weird happening. But then, the dumbwaiter again. I look over, and I can hear this screaming. It starts at a lower volume, and gets to an ear-piercing level. The dumbwaiter doors open, but the dumbwaiter is down on the bottom floor. I think this isn't how this is supposed to work. I'm the only one in the kitchen, and the screaming is making me cover my ears. It sounds very wheezy, too. And with it, I hear a rhythmic thudding along with the screams. It sounds like that someone or something is trying to climb up the shaft and scream. I think, oh, F this, hell no. I bail through the back entrance. I call the chef, and I tell her what's going on. She's shaken, and tells me that she heard it too. She calls a Catholic priest to come and bless the kitchen. I figure the worst is over. 1 week later, it's Christmas, so I won't be working it anyways. I'm washing dishes on that Monday though, and I hear that familiar sound. I think, you've got to be kidding me. The scream is back, louder than ever. The dumbwaiter door is closed. I figure that it's just going to stop. But then, I hear the dumbwaiter door start to strain. I look over, and through the dumbwaiter door, I can see fingers trying to open the door. I kick into overdrive. Fight or flight is going absolutely mental. I sprint out the door again. I call the chef. I call her, and I tell her that I can't keep doing this if the dumbwaiter demon is going to try to eat me while I'm at work. She tells me to take the rest of the week off, that she'll get it sorted. I come back, and it hasn't happened since, but I'm still really paranoid about that dumbwaiter. So, let me know which one of those was your favorite one. Do you have one of your own? I have an email in the description below that you can send them to if you'd like to. Down there as well is a PayPal and a Patreon if you would like to donate to the channel that way. And as for my own experiences with working nights, I've worked nights before, and I've had some weird things happen. A lot of this was lights turning on and off by themselves, cooler doors opening and closing at the store I used to work at. One that was frustrating was whenever the system wouldn't arm because it detected motion somewheres in the store when it would just be me there. One time in particular though, there was one night I was stocking cereal. I don't remember if it was Cheerios or Lucky Charms, but it was like the big family size boxes. At our store, they went on the bottom shelf. Now, I'm stocking these, and I get like a chill, and the radio kind of screws up a little bit. This is uncommon, but not out of the realm of possibility, because by this time I'd worked there for a while, and sometimes the radio just screws up. There's no explanation for it. But this time, it kind of has like a weird static to it. So I look up at the speaker, thinking, oh great, now I get to be alone with my thoughts while I'm working. And then I notice I can see my breath, which is weird because the store is fairly well heated most times of the year, and it was the summertime. So I start looking around. I look up the other end of the aisle, and there's nothing there. I look down the other end of the aisle, which I'm closer to, and about 10 feet from me is what I think was a woman holding a cart, but it was the kind of cart that this store hadn't had since I was a kid and used to shop there with my mother. Now, I look at the cart and think, that's weird, and then I look at the person, and in the split second that they were still there, the person clearly had no face, and it was like hard to focus on them as a whole. Like their shirt had something on it, but it's like all the letters were wrong. It's like when you do those pictures and they're AI generated, how like it can't do logos and stuff because it's all off looking and wrong. It looked like that, and as soon as I'd stepped back and blinked a couple times, she was gone. I don't think I saw that thing again. And the other time I'll mention before I close out the video was I was out back and upstairs, which is like a storage room. So on the lower floor is where we keep backstock. On the upper floor is where stuff goes like chips, toilet paper, and on the other side goes like containers that they would keep things in at the store, boxes for chicken and all. You can imagine that kind of stuff. Anyways, so I'm up there and the power goes out. Again, not out of the realm of possibility. Sometimes the power just goes out for a few minutes or like an hour. Now, usually when the power goes out, some people kind of get scared by it and they screech a bit. But this didn't happen. In fact, nothing happened. It was just complete silence. So, I finished doing what I'm doing. I get a box of chips and I take it down the stairs. Then I go out to put it on the shelf. And there's, all of a sudden, nobody in the store. No cashiers. No nothing. I go to the front door. The door's locked. I think this is really weird. I go back and I think, well, I brought the chips down here anyways, I might as well put them on the shelf. And as I'm putting them on the shelf, I hear static on the radio. Again, weird. And it's still weird how I'm still all of a sudden all alone in the store. I finish putting the chips on the shelf. I take the empty box out back upstairs. And then all of a sudden, there's people again. I can hear talking. And I think the weirdest thing out of all this wasn't the fact that I seemed to have somehow, I don't know, went somewhere where there were no people. I think the weirdest part of it was that the chips were still gone. Like, I went back to the shelf and there were no more chips on that area, but my box was still empty. So where did my chips go? But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, then maybe you'll consider liking and subscribing. Or, if you're already subscribed, maybe tick the notification bell and all that good stuff. Remember to follow the 3 H's of the channel: happy, healthy, and hydrated. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for pulling up a stump, and thank you for watching.